Alright, so I've been asked to take a look at Jared Leto on more than one occasion, and I'll start off with pointing out that I feel he has a very female energy, and I immediately feel this when I look into his eyes. So starting off from there, we do seem to have quite a long forehead, there's quite a lot of beard growth, the mouth is quite small, the spacing of the features is more feminine than masculine, but if this person hadn't been transgendered, then I imagine her features would be a little more closely spaced, like mostly the lower half of the face wouldn't be elongated, so the mouth would be up just a little bit higher. Testosterone use often causes the nose to grow a little bit in females when they take it, and it can develop a small brow ridge. It obviously helps with facial hair growth, and in some of them, development of a Adam's apple, though the results do vary between different people. So this person did have a very feminine energy as a young child as well. Does have quite a broad chin, but females are capable of having strong facial structures as well. Often the FTMs in their younger photos, their female energy will be more kind of obvious, and it sometimes becomes less obvious over time. But here, the energy of this person does look very feminine to me. Also, the clothes are quite baggy, but it does have a kind of look where it feels like the chest and torso, the upper torso, are quite small. Just a sort of slight person. Again, that kind of glowing female energy doesn't look male. Obviously, this was for a role in a film or something. But what I do notice here is that there does seem to be quite a pronounced female Q angle. This person is very thin in these photos. Very thin, but it is possible for females to become extremely thin, and I can say this with full confidence because I've had friends who had eating disorders and were skeletal, and obviously these things are kind of spurred by this whole agenda trying to get women to desire to have a tiny body and to look more similar to the MDFs in the media. But anyway, when a female doesn't have a large amount of estrogen in her system and is taking testosterone as well, the fat distribution doesn't always kind of happen in a female way. But what's interesting here is that you can see that there is, because this person is so thin, you can see this is actually at the bone level. This person has a female Q angle. So yeah, it's got kind of knobby knees and kind of muscular, gangly legs because it's taking testosterone. You also can't measure the shoulders and everything because of this attire, but these are female-looking legs, very skinny female's legs. And same thing here again, there is that female Q angle. You can also see it does appear like there's something of a female waist indentation, and like a bit of curving to the hips there. The shape of the knees is quite rounded, much more female than male. The forehead shape really is quite rounded. There is a brow ridge which has been likely increased through testosterone use, possibly through some kind of implant or something. And the facial bones, they are fairly strong. But these things are possible to change through testosterone use. If you kind of just imagine these bones being slightly less strong, then the rest of the appearance here kind of fits. There's no Adam's apple. The shoulder is sloping from up here, which typically female shoulders do. There's just kind of a general softness all around here. Again, kind of feeling a female energy from this person. This is a female face altered through testosterone, so it's really quite a mind game that they have someone like this, a woman appearing as a man, dressing as a man appearing as a woman. Just kind of wrap your mind around that. But actually, I've noticed that there do seem to be quite a lot of transgendered actors who take these roles that are the secret cross-dresser or the inverted person. So it's, interesting. Here it does appear that there's a female spinal arch. There's the rounded forehead, kind of female-looking knee area and everything. Again, this person is very, very thin at this point, but it does look like we've got the female spinal arch. The feet look large as well. This is bit of an odd-looking person, but, based on this obvious female Q angle, you don't find this kind of Q angle on males. If we take it from where the shoulder bone is up here, then kind of come down, it does reach to about the point where we've got the widest point of the pelvis, where the thigh bone connects in to the pelvis. It's about equal. There are some females who have shoulders slightly wider than the hips, and especially, like, this is a person who's an FDM, so this is already appearing male, and it doesn't want us to believe that it's a real female. So this person has the deltoid trick, the built-up deltoid muscles. They try and get these shoulders looking as broad as possible in the FDMs, but they can't change the underlying skeletal structure, and we see this over and over again. It does look like this person has a male digit ratio, but I've been wondering with FDMs, we do seem to still see quite a lot of FDMs with a male digit ratio, that is the index finger being shorter than the ring finger. I've actually noticed quite a lot of women that do have this same digit ratio, but I've been wondering if perhaps with the FDMs they might attempt some kind of testosterone injections while they're in the womb, and so this could potentially affect some development of traits later on in life by giving them a kind of early boost of testosterone. I have no idea, really. It's just a guess. I don't know. Now here the torso really does look quite straight, but the thing is you can see the wideness of the hips here, and you can tell that the widest point of the bones here, which is just at the crotch level, which is female, it goes up to the bones in the shoulders there. So this person also does have quite square shoulders, but that's also possible in females. So I think what we're looking at here is a kind of atypical female. A lot of the FDMs seem to be this type. They seem to be people with ancestry from kind of Northern Europe, where women often have narrower hips and broader, squarer shoulders and stronger facial structures. And I think they intentionally choose these kinds of bloodlines because they will pass more easily as an FDM. So it's not that they only have these kind of FDMs, that these are the only inverts in the world, but that these ones pass better, so they're the ones we kind of see in the public eye, and that's my guess anyway. I'll just run through the face really quick. Again, kind of delicate, small, close-spaced features. The dental arch isn't incredibly small, actually. The mouth is kind of medium-sized. It's not the massive mouth you see on MTFs, but it's also not immediately kind of tiny to look at. There is quite a softness in the face. There's really not much going on in the neck, and the neck is quite short as well. Ears are kind of intermediate sized, and this one does grow quite a big bushy beard, so some FDMs do, some don't. This face does have a very female look remaining to it, even after the testosterone use. You can really feel the energy in a lot of the pictures. The rounded forehead. There is that little kind of slope to the shoulders here. You can see that the bones end here, and there's this kind of female fat right here at the end. So yeah, there's essential shoulder shape here. You couldn't fit 3 skull sizes on these shoulders. These are female shoulders, even if they're a bit kind of more squared in appearance than a lot of girls have. Again, there's a small brow ridge. Even some natural-born women have these without taking testosterone, so taking testosterone can certainly develop one to this extent, no problem. But a lot of the time this person does seem to have a very rounded forehead. Very girly look. Again, does look like we've got the male digit ratio, so this isn't the most reliable of indicators by any means. This person has had quite a lot of changes with its body. So it's been overweight like this, and it does have an Adonis belt here, so this could have been surgically implanted, or, I don't know. But, look here, look at, again, this female Q angle. This isn't just muscle, you can tell that the actual bones in here, you can tell there's a curve to the shape of the leg here, so you can tell the entire leg here is curved. The chest doesn't even look that strange. The chest doesn't look incredibly strange. It does look a little weird. There's, this arm is moving away, So this pectoral will look less full, but it also does appear like there's extra unevenness, and you can kind of see that here and here as well. It's kind of like a strange, like why does the muscle kind of slice along here, and then there's like the rest of it up here, when on this side it's just kind of a swooping. It's a bit strange. It does appear like we've got a little bit of the waist indentation here, and as I always say on FTMs, it's not just whether they have a high waist indentation point, because some men do, and when men build up the oblique muscles, they can it creates a kind of bulging appearance along the torso. But here we have that bulge, and then the hips still continue out past that point continually. So yeah, this person does have a kind of strange looking body. Now, arm length generally on a male will be kind of longer than this, crotch level doesn't reach the wrist bone. The arms should be longer to reach that point. This person's arms do angle out, in this photo, angle out from the shoulder, and especially from where the elbow bends is where female arms particularly bend. This person in this shot, they're holding the arm in front of the legs, so you don't see that angling out shape, but that's what they do naturally, because the shoulders are quite narrow. So again, if you look at here, and like the widest point of the pelvis, and take it up, you're going to find where the shoulder bone is right here, edge of the collarbones, and the joint where the arm connects into the shoulders. It does look like we've got pretty delicate wrists too. And again, FTMs take steroids, they take testosterone. This whole body looks extremely strange to me. It's like, it's because the head is too big, I think, partially. It's just like the wrong head pasted on the wrong body. Not to mention the body itself is wrong anyway, but and again, as I've mentioned before, the building up the deltoids trick makes the shoulders look wider. So here, this person, appears like they've got a thinner lower section and wider upper section, but you can see the skeletal structure doesn't quite match that. This person's also gotten extremely skinny for a role before, and it does appear like we've got a bit of a curve going on in the spine, which is interesting for someone that's supposed to be male. Here again, looks like you've got a very bendy spine on this person. The ribcage isn't really long, so it's more of a female length. Again, it's showing us this curve in the spine. You can see it come inward and outward. That's not a male look. The ribcage also is looking quite small. So, this person's got quite female dimensions. This already could pass as kind of like if you just kind of put something on the chest, this could pass as a woman who's kind of emaciated, because that's what it is. High waist indentations, wide hips, bit of the curve to the leg, giving us the female Q angle. Again, the high waist indentation points, round kind of shape around the hips, female roundness. Even though the torso mostly kind of comes down straight, you can still see this kind of strange bulge, and it's at the bone level. It's not just oblique muscles built up, it's actually, you can tell there's bone in there that's doing this stuff. There's also this kind of fullness around the hips, the thighs, at this low region where you find it on females. So essentially just the shape of the torso just reads as off. And, the upper torso is smaller than the lower torso here. You can sense the heaviness to this person's body is kind of down here, not up here. And we have ourselves the female spinal arch again, here where the ribcage ends pretty high up, and coming down and out before a posterior that we've got down there. This isn't the most extreme female spinal arch I've seen, but some women don't have a very extreme one. And this person does have a few androgynous traits to them, so tissue here is looking kind of weird. There's just kind of too much of a fullness that doesn't look quite natural. So it could be that there's too much excess female tissue in there, or they could have tried to put some kind of pectoral implants as such, because they actually do implant muscles into a lot of people as well. This is something that is done in the world. You can see kind of here where the waist is. You can still tell that it comes out on this side, even though this is the hip that's being cocked out, so that means there are curves on both sides. Again, quite a bendy looking spine. You can tell there's quite a curve to the front of the body too, so this is just the pelvic tilt of a female, spinal arch of a female. And again, showing us that female Q angle, very bendy thighs, looking quite wide around the thighs, even with shoulder pads in the shoulders. Even with this, this just looks like a female face wearing kind of a beard. Now, someone wrote to me and told me that this person was really hard for them to kind of understand, like, what energy this person had, because they thought this person had a kind of fierce look in their eyes and everything. So I didn't know this person, so I looked them up, and for me, this just looks like an angry girl. Like, there's a difference between the natural kind of piercing energy of a male that they don't have to try to put there. It's just there naturally, pretty much in any whatever expression they're making. But with a female, she can scowl and make this look, but to me it feels kind of like a flat appearance compared to that actual deep piercing look that males have. So, if you look at a person like this and then someone you trust is a biological male, you're going to find that this one is it's got this kind of hollow, empty feel compared to the piercing feel of a male's gaze. So, females can frown, females can be angry, but this actually still feels quite innocuous to me, sort of, it doesn't feel at all dangerous or threatening. It's just very kind of low-key female glaring. Same here. Also, a lot of times people get very confused because of the eye colors. I've had people think that biological females are males because they have a very piercing eye color, or that some biological males are females because they have a very kind of soft, dreamy eye color. So with this person, they have a kind of piercing blue eye color in some shots, and so this makes people also confused and think that they've got a male energy because they mistake the piercing color for the piercing energy. But once you come to recognize these things, you'll be able to notice this more easily. And, if you find someone whose energy you're confused about, try and find pictures of them young, because if you go from this, it's glowering, it's trying to be fierce, and go to this, just this energy is clearly female. And there's times when they just can't hide it. They can't put on that scowl in time for the camera, or maybe they weren't trying at that stage in their life. So, the young pictures really do help. Does look like we've got a bit of one-eye symbolism, which the elite and the Illuminati love to show us with their celebrities, whether they're all in on it or not. Now here, there's this kind of soft, curvy look around the shoulders, no bones sticking out anywhere, which, a male in this pose, probably the bones would be more visible for a male of this body size. Males who are overweight, they're not going to have really jutting bones and everything, but, someone of this size would, compared to a female of this size, typically because females have higher levels of subcutaneous body fat. Our bones will be less visible than a male, as well as the fact that we typically have slighter bones. So, FTMs often just don't have a very visible bone structure compared to a male who would be of the same kind of body size. Now, these eyes are just always giving such a female energy off, and, several shots I'm just never seeing really much development in the neck. Not much. And I've said before, some boys in my generation don't have really big Adam's apples, and a lot of them will have small hands. There's a lot of hormonal influence interference in our environment that does change. It seems to mostly affect the boys of my generation, so I kind of feel bad for them. But one thing it can't change is the energy of a person, and also the bone structure of the most important bits of the spine, Q angle, hips and shoulders. And here, there is a very short neck. This is a short female neck with a female slope to the shoulders. And again, that lack of defined bone structure. Now, there are many cute pictures in the world of good fathers holding children, or, just nice men holding their nephews or whatever, a child. But they don't display a female energy when they do that. And the FTMs, sometimes they just can't hide it. There will just be this kind of radiant female glow when holding little children. And thankfully I don't have any feminists coming at me and telling me that I'm being ridiculous and talking about these innate nurturing tendencies that females have. because they do exist, and you can see them in the FTMs sometimes. And some more symbolism. They love this pose of kind of hushing up the deception. And again, I've said before, not every celebrity, I don't think every celebrity is consciously aware of what they're being used for, but the transgender ones, it's probable that they are, so this person's probably in on it, kind of smiling and telling us to hush about it, so that's interesting. And this is, I suppose, a variation on the 666 symbol. You can see the high waist indentation in this pose, kind of roundness of the hips and everything. Strange body, and more passable as male than some FTMs, but still, it's female. Here we have the Illuminati Triangle as well. Again, we've got the female Q angle, the wide hips being disguised by the built-up deltoids. The arms that swing way out at the shoulders are female, because female arms do this, males don't. You can see that the upper torso here is kind of coming in to a high waist as well. So, same here, keeps coming in. Then we've got the wideness of the hips. This person does have quite a long torso. Usually females will have a proportionally longer legs than torso, but this person does have quite long torso. And this is possible. Different people from different parts of the world, from different backgrounds, from with different kind of nutrients growing up, they're going to have different bodily dimensions. It's just, that is the nature of genetics. Not every, even monozygotic twins are not perfectly identical once they grow up. So, we can't say that every male has to look like such and every female has to look like such. So this is just a female with a longer torso. But again, you can see the female Q angle. See, we have a female arm length and just some other essential dimensions that are female. Again, this kind of wideness of the hips. Even though it's wearing baggy clothes, you can see it's not properly disguised, because you can tell it's about the same as in the shoulders here, when you ignore the deltoids. Again, that female Q angle. Some of the FTMs, especially when they're really thin, and when they don't have a really defined waist indentation, you don't have much to go on besides the Q angle and the spinal arch, and just the visual shape of the hips being wrong. So this person does have that. They have that rounded, strange shape at the hip level. They have the female Q angle, and they have the spinal arch as well. And of course, the arms hangling out, the short arms. Often you'll find FTMs that kind of just look awkward. Like here, because of the female spinal arch, there's too much of a curve around the posterior and the back and everything. And a male, the body would look a lot straighter than this. So sometimes FTMs, like standing on the red carpet in their suit or kind of walking like this, they'll just have this kind of, the pose looks awkward, the body looks awkward, it just doesn't look quite right. Again, probable male digit ratio. And a lot of FTMs, another trick is wearing the trousers really low, because then you can't see the full extent of the Q angle. It kind of makes the legs look straighter and just like fools you into thinking there's a wider kind of hip shape. But when you see the trousers pulled up higher, then you can really kind of make out the female Q angle. Here you can see it as well anyway, but this is a trick they do. The building up the deltoids and wearing the trousers low. I've seen this in other FTMs as well, and it does fool the eye pretty well when there's clothes on. But you can always tell there's just too much width to the hips, even in someone who keeps pretty thin like this, except for that kind of stage where it really wasn't. But certain FTMs like this, they'll be pretty thin, and they'll have the square shoulders, and it's harder to tell, except for the fact that their hips are just too wide and they've got that female Q angle. But focus on these essential dimensions, and you can tell when something is not what it appears. Once again, that Q angle, wearing baggy clothes to disguise the upper body. Again, the upper torso just looking a little bit too shrunken compared to how much it expands down here after the point of the waist, which it doesn't have hugely defined points up here, but it is above the navel, and you can tell that the hips, the bones in the hips, do expand past that point. And looking at this photo, a very uneven kind of tissue here. It doesn't look right. It's kind of looking a bit hollow and empty right here, and then kind of bunched in other areas. Just not quite right. And again, there is that sort of waist indentation point above the navel, and then the hips that are rounded. It's not just an oblique muscle, it's the actual shape of the bones under here, you can tell, because of how the body expands out to that point and stays going past that point. So that's an FTM body right there. Again, the body coming into that high waist indentation point. Pretty female looking joints. And when the trousers are a little bit lower too, you can really tell about the width of the hips. You can tell they're too wide, and there's too much of a female shape going on in the whole torso. And, same here with the wide hips, the female Q angle. Sloping shoulders, arms angling out at the shoulders, short arms, very female. That wide hip coming up over there. Hands actually look quite small. If you place the end of the hand here, the palm, onto the jawline, probably reach up to about right here. That is more of a female length on a female head, because typically female hands will reach just above their eyebrow when placed on the same head, and male hands will typically reach up or closer to the hairline. This person really potentially might have some kind of pectoral implants or something. I don't know, this body is really strange looking. But yeah, again, the waist indentations, curve to the hips, same here, curvy hips, kind of small, strange looking chest. Again, those hips, keep seeing them. This is one thing that you can't really measure. There's one thing that you just have to be able to, measure with your eyes. Is the shape of the hips right, or is it not? And it just is very strange. It expands too much, it's too rounded. Typical males don't look like this. And, yes, this person does have an Adonis belt, but the FTMs often have them, so either it's possible that they can develop them with enough testosterone, and if they get the subcutaneous body fat level low enough, and also do some kind of weight training and things, or it's possible they just get something implanted or some other procedure to have it put on. Again, roundness to the hips, waist indentation above the navel, wide hips, built up deltoid muscles to deceive the eye. This just looks so incredibly female. There's even the doughy softness to the face, the kind of bulbous rounded forehead. It's a long forehead. Most males have longer foreheads than females, but, with testosterone elongating the face and being given at a very young age to this person to develop it as a transgender its whole life, you're going to have pretty good results in some people. Still, this isn't really a good result in my opinion. It's female looking features. It really does look like a girl wearing a beard. This picture is double incriminating, such a curve to the spine, and then the female energy with a little baby too. And here we have the sad, lost, dead FTM look. Some pictures are a bit harder to tell than others, but thankfully we can always look at people's energy, and this person's energy is definitely female. But once you kind of are aware of the way that these people will deceive through fashion and through all of their different bodily procedures and so forth, and even just expressions, then it's easier to tell. And this person's body is not correct for a male. There are many types of male body, but this is just not one of them. This is a female to male transgender, and that's that.